Let's, if we can, zoom in a little to into some of the things, the points that you mentioned. You know, you're known, you've spent a lot of time, many years, as a social philosopher, speaking about relationships of all types. So there are many types of relationships. We talk about spouses, we talk about parents, children. So for some people, and there's a range in the audience, for some people it's parents, older parents who don't have the opportunity to spend time with their children, at least in physical proximity. And certainly festivals like Passover, which we are in the middle of celebrating, where it is always about family. We don't have that opportunity today, and that's a challenge. It's a change, it's difficult for many people. So parents cannot spend that time with their children in the way that they have traditionally done. Children can't be with their parents. Obviously that's a challenge. It's not something we would choose. It is not something we would want. And that is painful in a way. The question is, what, and if you can be a bit specific, what are the benefits? What are the upsides in that relationship? How does that relationship between parents and children who cannot spend the time together when they normally would, what are the benefits during these extraordinary times, during this lockdown?
What's obvious that immediately comes to mind is that we can't take things for granted. Yes, we made our seders by inviting our parents or going to our parents' home, or just in general, dropping in to see our elderly parents when we have them. And that just became routine. Anytime you break a routine, it forces you to rethink, to re-examine. So what's happening today is that we realize that we miss being with them. Or to put it in stronger terms, we yearn to be with them. And we haven't yearned in a long time. We have everything so comfortable and so organized and so routine or taken for granted that we don't yearn. So people who are truly saddened by the fact that they can't be with their parents, they are rethinking their relationship. They're discovering feelings that they ignored or didn't know they had. It is deepening our connection. So sometimes being away brings us much closer. You can imagine in the olden days, well, not that long ago, before there was internet and before there was this ability to travel, parents and children separated in different countries, other sides of the ocean, what connection did they have? They were not going to see each other. They weren't going to fly over there and make a visit. That wasn't possible. So the only thing they had was letters. Writing a letter, a brivele de mamen. And those letters were, if people would save them, if people would read them today, it would show a depth of feeling that we're not even familiar with, because we have it so comfortable and so easy. So what's happening is our appreciation, our understanding, our connection, our need for each other is becoming refreshed. It's becoming clear and obvious. And what we yearn for, by the way, is such an important and fundamental part of who we are. You know, when a person passes away, his soul comes to heaven, and they ask 3 preliminary questions of the soul. Did you raise a family? Were you honest in business? And did you yearn for the coming of Mashiach? Now, the first 2 questions make sense. What was your life? You have a family, you have a business, you were good? Basic. Did you yearn? Well, why is that significant? They yearned for Mashiach. Mashiach didn't come. So what is the yearning worth? It turns out that if you want to know a person really, internally, essentially, don't ask whether he has a family. Everybody has a family. Don't ask whether he was good at business or honest in business. Everybody has a business and everybody tries to be honest. You want to know what this person is? Look at what he yearned for. What you yearn for is an expression of your essence, because nothing influences that from the outside. This is you. This is where you live. You live in the areas that you yearn for. So discovering that we actually yearn to see each other, and we yearn for a better world. This is very significant. And our lives had become so routine that we forgot what we yearn for. So that is at least one aspect of the silver lining of the separation.
Let's move to the other end. We spoke about that distancing where family members were normally used to being together. What about at the other polar end, where parents are being forced now to spend a lot of time, weeks, many weeks in some countries, with their children in lockdown? And the parents are, anxious. There's a lot of uncertainty if it's jobs or the future or, lack of schooling currently. So children and parents are being forced to live in close proximity together. And that could cause a lot of tension in the family dynamic. What do you see could be the sources of tension, and what suggestions would you have as to how to not just alleviate those tensions, but to use these moments as an opportunity to improve the relationships we have with our children?
Well, I would suggest the first thing is not call it lockdown. That sounds very much like prison. Again, there's a story. The National Women's Organization, the Chabad Women, were having a convention in Detroit. And it was in the middle of the winter. And when the convention was over on a Sunday afternoon, everyone made their way to the airport to fly home. But the airport was closed because of a storm. So they sent a message to the Rebbe saying that they're stuck in Detroit. What should they do? And the Rebbe's answer was, stuck in Detroit? God needs you there for a few more hours because you haven't finished or completed your mission. You're not stuck. You're employed. You're on a mission. So it depends on how we look at this quarantine. You're stuck with your children. This is not going to be a positive experience. You have time to be with your children. That's a much more positive framing of the issue. So let's begin with a positive attitude. We always thought, I'd love to spend more time with my kids, but it never happened. So God says, I will give you this gift. You say you want to spend more time with your kids. Here's a bunch of time. Spend it with your kids. You say you want to spend more time with your spouse. You feel like you've been neglecting each other. You both work. You're busy. You're distracted. This relationship is just on automatic pilot. Not good. So God says, all right, here's an opportunity to make it good. We also are learning what life is made of. It's very sad, but true. we have become comfortable with the idea that life consists of traveling, visiting, nightclubs, entertainment, shopping, sports events. And of course, work. That's what life is. Now we're discovering none of that is essential to life. The home, that is real life. So now I think when kids go back to school eventually, it's going to feel so different. They will have a completely different appreciation and expectation of what school is supposed to be. Schools will become much better educationally. Going back to work, it's going to have to be a whole different attitude. The world is bankrupt as far as for all practical purposes. So how are we going to make money? It's going to have to be cooperative. We're going to have to help each other. Countries are going to have to help each other. Businesses are going to have to help each other. It's going to be a very different feeling, a very different purpose to everything we do. And now traveling and nightclubs and entertainment, it's going to have to improve too, because we realize what's real, what's superficial, what's necessary, what's unnecessary, completely different world. So when God says, I'm putting you into your home and I don't want you to leave, which is what God is saying, it's not lockdown, it's family time. A lot of family time. How could that not be good?